My name's Howard Wimshurst. I make animations. So today I'm going to talk to you about Encounter, which is my latest short film, and I'm going to just take you through how I made it. Maybe the things that I learned on this project will also give you some insight into what it's like to make a short film, or at least what it was like for me. I've always enjoyed watching behind the scenes videos on how films are made, so I figured I'd give it a shot to make my own sort of version of that. I currently live and study at Portsmouth University. This is my final year before I go into working full-time, hopefully in the animation industry. My main hope is to create a good film that people enjoy, but it's also the film that I hope will propel me into the industry and that will be my calling card as an animator, and hopefully it will get me more business, more jobs. So there was quite a lot riding on this project, I gotta say. I did feel the pressure the whole time to create my best work. Encounter is a 2-minute short film that I made, but that 2 minutes of animation took more than 6 months to create. It was a long, difficult project for me, lots of dark times. Lots of amazing times as well. It taught me a lot about filmmaking, but more than that, it taught me a lot about myself. So yeah, this video is going to be a lot about me. It's quite self-indulgent, but it was a sort of personal journey of mine. I had a few collaborators along the way, especially when it came to the sound, or the music, and I'll be talking about that as well. I'm going to make the process of filmmaking seem very complex in this, and I don't want that to put you off. It seems complex because I overthink things. So just because I put in all of these steps doesn't mean that you have to as well. Ideation is basically coming up with the idea for the story and then shaping that idea into something that people will want to watch, I suppose. So it basically comes at the start of any project. You need an idea to sort of carry you forward. Yeah, with the ideation, man, I got off to a pretty awful start with the ideation. I kept on jumping around on different ideas, and I think a lot of this came from, it wasn't exactly writer's block, because I was making lots of ideas, but I would call it writer's fear. It was a fear of committing to an idea in case that idea, that story premise didn't fulfill my criteria. So I was very hesitant to stick to an idea and to fully commit. Creating the story is my biggest fear, but it's also my biggest passion. So it's really where I suffer on this kind of thing, and I've got a lot to learn when it comes to creating the story ideas. Story can be such a difficult balancing act. If it's too original and too abstract, then no one can understand it, and therefore no one enjoys it, and no one can relate to it. So it kind of, you lose people if you go too abstract. But then if you play it too safe and you stick to structures and genres and things, then it becomes cliche and boring and predictable. So there are those kind of balancing acts in pretty much everything in the story. I did put a lot of emphasis on having a strong initial idea with lots of premise, lots of direction. So you can see me here drawing a bunch of images in my head, images which might trigger more ideas, and you can look at them and ask questions. Questions like, how did the character get here? What is he going up against now? Where's the conflict in the story? If it's fictional, what is being referenced in the real world? Those are the kind of questions, those initial questions that I ask where I assess whether an idea or a setting has potential. I had a list of criteria that I wanted the story to ideally have. Those criteria were to have some kind of visual interest. It wasn't going to be people in an office block just talking about their problems. It needed to be communicated visually as well. So again, not relying on dialogue for things. It needed to be suited to the animation medium. Now this is one that I really struggled with, but whether I chose a story that could only be told with animation, I'm not sure about that. The story had to surprise the audience in some way, not play into their expectations. It needed to be told within a short space of time. It couldn't be a long epic that was very drawn out. It had to be to the point. It had to get there quickly. It had to be an original idea as well. If it wasn't an original idea, it had to be an original way of telling that idea. So this criteria really narrowed down the list of ideas that I could go into. And this was a real struggle for me to come up with an idea that fulfilled all of these criteria. In fact, I didn't fully achieve that. Some of the criteria weren't 10 out of 10. Time was ticking, months went by, and I still had not committed to an idea. And all of my peers were already settled on their ideas and working hard on pre-production. The deadline was getting closer, but I wasn't getting any closer to settling on a story. So this really alarmed me. I waited for that moment where it would all click and I would come to the realization of what the story would be and I'd have the perfect idea, but it never happened. So that was a first for me, because normally there's a part in the process where it all clicks and it all makes sense. I didn't have that. It was a struggle for the whole time. If you really try and you put it all on the line, you will face dark times, which is scary. If you're pushing yourself, that is. It's these dark times that define you. You have to keep going. If you give up, you're not a filmmaker. Filmmakers don't give up. That's what I was telling myself the whole time. Filmmakers don't give up. They work with what they got. If they have a problem, they come at it from a different angle. They try something different. They bring in new information. They recess things. They flip it upside down. Bring in new people right up until the very end when you have that deadline. Now, that's not to say you don't make compromises. Sometimes you have to make compromises, but you try your very best. One of the things that I did that really made a difference was bringing in friends to help. Friends and lecturers and peers who would listen to my ideas and just tell me sort of up front, that's a good idea, that's not a good idea. The idea of hunters on skis was this intriguing idea that lay in the back of my mind during the whole of the ideation process. I had seen it in a National Geographic magazine. It was a study on this group of people in China, and they would hunt on skis, they would travel on skis, and they would also farm on skis. They would use the reindeer. There were also similar cases in Siberia and in Finland and Sweden. There were also cases where there were in war, the soldiers would use skis as well. So I found that interesting, that kind of inspired it as well, but mainly it was the hunting. I felt like the imagery there would be really nice. It's different from what you normally see on TV, and it would be a really interesting challenge to animate them and make them move. I found it interesting how these ancient ways of life on skis contrasted with how we see skiing today as a recreational sport. I needed to take a leap of faith. I trusted that subject matter of the skiing was interesting to me, and it was interesting enough to pursue it, even though I didn't know the whole story would lead to something that was also interesting to watch. An idea naturally came into my mind where it's a conflict between a new world skier and an old world skier. Okay, pre-production. From the outside, my process probably looks quite messy, and it is messy. Sometimes I reach a dead end and I have to realise it's a dead end and then scrap it and move forward that way. But pre-production was a time where I could be extremely agile in that way. I could find the dead ends quickly and eliminate them and explore ideas, that have the freedom to move through ideas very quickly and quickly suss them out. Sometimes you need to reach the dead end to realise that it's a dead end, you know? You have to go there to get there. It's a process in that way. That doesn't mean it was a waste of time, me finding that it was a dead end. By going there and exploring it, then you learn what the film isn't. And that's a very well-informed film. Pre-production was also that time when that fuzzy idea, when I put pen to paper, that vision was defined. It was also a necessary stage for me because I needed to pitch my idea to lecturers and to my peers. I needed them to see it, to understand it. There was a lot of refining. At first I had like 5 characters. So I had 3 New World skiers, 2 Old World skiers. My lecturer made me realise that I didn't need those extra skiers. Whittled it down to just 3 main characters, and then due to time restraints, I whittled that down to just 2 main characters. I've learned that in a way time restraints can be a blessing in disguise because they force you to focus down on the core of the story and only having in the frame what's necessary to tell that story in its most basic form. Even in the most bizarre fantasy stories, I always try to ground the story in something real. Encounter might have been a fictional story, but I made great efforts to base it on real places and real characters and real animals wherever possible. Sometimes those characters would be a combination of different people. Sometimes the animals would be a sort of half between this breed and that breed, but the point is that I was studying real references and then taking the best of lots of different things. So it just so happened that my family and friends network, I have a sort of network of family and friends, they were planning a ski trip in the French Alps. And this was a perfect opportunity to collect authentic reference and also as a storyteller to experience the life of my characters. So I spent a good chunk of time at the snow park with my brothers and also just bombing it down slopes and going as fast as we could. And I was pushing myself to go off bigger jumps and to ski faster so that I could experience that power, the power of speed. And I gotta say, it was a lot of fun to do those studies, and I do feel like it informed my knowledge of the characters. I've skied and snowboarded for most of my life. I tend to go about once a year. When I knew that I had to make a film about it, then I was kind of seeing the whole experience with new eyes, and I was trying new things, I was exploring more. On one of the last days, I snowboarded to this secluded area away from people and from the ski slopes. And I sat and listened to the sounds of the mountain, the birds, the wind, the plants. A nearby stream was trickling and I sat by it in quiet contemplation. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Just want to quickly show you a preview of the next episode and also to thank my Patreon supporters. So I don't make much money off of the YouTube ad revenue, and what I do make is not much compared to how much work goes into these videos. So the support that the patrons give me makes it all worthwhile. So many thanks to them. If you want to find out more, the link is in the description to my Patreon page. Here's a quick preview of the next video. Let the hand do the work for you. It's really satisfying. It's a little bit embarrassing, but Also, I want to congratulate Porky for winning the Animator Guild Monthly Challenge once again for a second time in a row. Very impressive work. Just going to show you a bit of his design work here. So basically the monthly challenge was to create a character design, and Porky went above and beyond. He created an animated sequence. Whoa! Whoa! That was awesome. He made so many different iterations of this character. Oh wow, he's done even more. Gee. What? This is overwhelming, man. Different styles and everything, so I was just blown away by the amount of work he put into that, and he's won for a second time in a row. The work he put in showed that he really wanted to keep that title. So that went on in the Animator Guild Discord group. The link to that will be in the description. You can go and join there for free and join the community. Alright, that's all I have for this week. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel so that you can watch the next episode, which will be coming out next week. Alright, see you then, goodbye.